Look who's
Ah!
here!
There we go. Sorry about that. Oh my God. What's up? How's life with you? Everything cool?
Yeah, I'm good. You got your cool setup at home?
Little, I finally got this little room set up. I mean, I had it. I was. They had me a room. God, you gotta look at your background. Jesus, I feel like I'm a little. Yeah, I'm here. I had a remote broadcast set up. You know, a laptop and a bunch of gadgets and whatnot in our little loft area.
Yeah.
And after about 3 or 4 months of that, our whole family were like, "I'm just sick of looking at this thing. Just sick of it." So, and then luckily the engineer guy that came over, it was a buddy of mine that hooked me up as opposed to the radio station. So he called me up and says, "Dude, I need my stuff back." So he took it away and I called the station. All right, I need some stuff from you guys now. So they gave me just a laptop and this little setup here. So I put it in a back room and it's perfect. So I'm kind of hidden back here. I got my Wi-Fi all juiced up, you know, so I'm flying crazy Wi-Fi. And yeah, I had a couple of Zooms today. I had Ryan Tedder.
Okay.
And had Miley Cyrus today. So it's so weird to have, you know,
And then
people.
You have me.
Wow. Tori, you're blowing up. So you got some big things ahead for you. So I know everybody, you know, you may not be where you want to be right now, but you're where a lot of people want to be, and you're killing. So things are happening for real. What are we doing, by the way? What's this thing we're doing?
This is actually so I started college throughout quarantine.
Oh, dang, of course.
I was planning on starting in January and then was already planning on doing it on a lie. That's how my brain works. But anyways, so now I have time.
Boom.
I'm trying to fit it into some kind of busy schedule with quarantine. So yeah, this is for a music business class. So we can
cool.
Professor. It might go on my IGTV too. We're still figuring out, but this is
cool.
For my professor.
So we've already started. Have we already started? Or are we starting now?
We're recording.
Yeah. Oh, good. Hey, what's up, guys? Going.
I thank you so much for fitting this into your schedule. Obviously, you interviewed Miley Cyrus today, so I really appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure. Are you kidding me? Come on now.
For a little while. But yeah, so just if you could introduce yourself and like who you are and what you do, that would be.
Sure. My name's JoJo Wright. I do a radio show nightly actually, I used to do the night show on KIIS. Now I'm in the afternoons, but on KIIS FM in Los Angeles. I do the iHeartRadio Countdown, it goes to all the pop stations in the country. Matter of fact, when I mentioned I was talking to Ryan Tedder and Miley Cyrus, we're taping the iHeartRadio Countdown is what we're doing. When I tape them, I don't know the songs we're going into. The songs get inserted in later, but I tape the breaks with the artist and whatnot. So that's why we tape them quite a bit ahead of time, you know. So I do the iHeartRadio Countdown. I do a podcast called Paranormalish, which is, I'm obsessed with the paranormal, Tori.
Yes.
It's crazy. I got another side project, which I can't totally get into, but it's something I'm super excited about. If it goes like I hope it goes, it's a dream come true kind of a thing. But it's not there yet. We have another step to go, but we just filmed a piece we needed for it last weekend. But that's me in a nutshell. My hair is
great.
You know,
so I see all the time on your story, and I love it because I feel like everyone has that struggle during quarantine.
Oh man, you gotta have it, right?
Trying to tame it, just
it's good times.
It all work. But yeah, I actually did, just to completely start the interview, if you could do like a quick little, you know, you're a radio personality. And
yeah,
like a little JoJo Wright intro. I would love that.
So that's what hey, it's JoJo Wright from KIIS FM in Los Angeles. I'm a radio DJ. I host an iHeartRadio Countdown. And that's my life. I interview people and I talk on the radio. And I talk to, if you really want the truth, I talk to crazy people in a nutshell. Honestly. Whether they be famous or not. Tori, great example.
Yeah, all creatives are. Who isn't crazy?
You got to be a little kind of to really get to create some magic. Yeah, I think, you know, or it certainly helps.
So I did have a question. Obviously, you interview so many big people and celebrities, like you just said. You interviewed Miley Cyrus today. How often are you actually interviewed? Like, is this different for you?
I'm interviewed less than I interview people for sure.
Yes.
But you know, I get it every now and then, and it's always a weird dynamic for me because I automatically kind of go into interviewer mode, and I kind of got to reverse on that. But it's exciting because you know to sit on the other side of the mic, so to speak, and it's kind of a rush, and it's almost I guess I find it like I don't have to do any work. I just have to be me, you know, and which as you know, right now, it's a little, you have to do your research and whatnot, and sometimes just a matter of having a nice conversation. It's a matter of listening and not going just on your notes. But when I'm being interviewed, I just kind of just relax and just talk, it's pretty, it's a cool feeling, put it like that.
Yeah. I think people don't realize how hard like this side of it is. I think I actually get more, as an artist, I get more nervous on this side than I do.
Oh, really?
Interview. Oh, for sure. Yes.
Now, it's funny because I was sitting before COVID. Thank you, COVID. I would my procedure would be I'd go to the radio stations in Burbank. KIIS FM's in Burbank. There's a restaurant underneath on the bottom floor, Morton Steakhouse. Okay. And I would go to Morton Steakhouse and I would sit there. I would sit at the bar. I'm not like some big drunk. I would go there and I have hot tea every day. The bartenders, they just bring me the tea. They just I love it. Tea with honey. I sit there and I put my notes on the table. I'll sit there on the bar. And I just start, because just doing a short interview is one thing, but when you're doing a 2-hour countdown, which has about 15 to 16 breaks in it, you kind of want to map it out a little bit. Yeah. And so I sit there and I make my notes every day. And I was sitting there making notes one day on, I forget who I was prepping for, and your mom walks up to me.
I was actually going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can pause
into you while you were researching for an interview.
Yeah. She came up to me and introduced herself. I'm like, I know you, and I know who your daughter is. I'm like, I knew who your daughter was, And we had a nice chat. She was asking, and she said some nice things. Like she thought that she didn't know if I still did my own prep.
Yeah.
Like did somebody do my prep for me? And we have a team of people, and they'll give me information like a breakdown sheet. But then I'll sit there and take that and put it into my own words. So I'll give you, if this is a visual, for example, like hang on.
You're answering so many of my questions, but we'll get more into it.
Feel free to re-ask them, because I know when people do that and I have a breakdown of things, and then they answer my question. I'm like, just re-ask them, we'll do it.
About this. Not only as just interested, but also something that I'm interested in doing as well.
Totally. Like they'll give me a piece, like, and I heard countdown, like notes and whatnot, and then I'll take them and I'll put them on these little like how I want to break them down.
Read off of during your interview.
Yeah, I mean, I'll and keep in mind I have to change them. Sometimes I'll change them as I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm doing, if it's a quick, like sometimes an artist will come in for 2 or 3 breaks.
Okay.
And those are pretty. It's a quick bullet points, like boom, 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 and then it just kind of goes where it goes. I think my theory is on interviews, you prep for if they've got nothing to say. Like if an artist has nothing to say, prep for that. But if you find the magic and you guys start going with something, the notes get thrown out, and you just that's the perfect thing, Yeah, there we go. So, but re-ask your questions, whatever you want. I don't care. Let's just go. So there we go. Yeah, but I bumped into your mom, and she was super nice.
Yes, I love my mom. So yeah, I wanted to ask like how you got into the industry in the first place. Like, how did you get started? Education you have, anything like that?
I started off my first radio station. It was a little tiny AM station in Texas. Yeah. And I started at this AM radio station in the summer before high school. Mm-hmm. So, and picture like KIIS FM is a big radio station, or any radio station in LA is a big radio station.
Yes.
Don't picture that station. Picture the tiniest mom and pop, little tiny, almost a shack. And it was called KBUK, AM 1360. And it was just a little tiny country station. Okay. The highlight for the radio station, they had 2 shows that were like the big signature shows of the radio station. They had a show called Tradio, which happened in the middle of the day, and people would call up and say, hey, I've got this lawnmower for sale, and it's you have to kick it a couple of times, but I need like $20 for this lawnmower. And I'll go, okay, what's your name? My name's Tori Kay. I'm Tori, what's your number? Blah, blah, blah. And then the next person would call up and do their thing, and eventually somebody would go, hey, who was selling that lawnmower for $20? Oh, that's Tori Kay, and here's her number. Da, da, da. And then that's how they would sell things, and that was a big.
What you're doing now.
Yeah, it was an interesting little. There's got to be a version of that needs to be on major radio stations, but it works so well. And I would call Little Old Ladies. Like I didn't host it a lot, but I hosted it some. I wasn't the main jock on the station, but they Little Old Ladies would bring me apple pies and stuff, and and they were the best apple pies you ever had in your life, because a little tiny. It was a mom and pop station. Yeah, and then the other thing was high school football. There was a couple of local high school teams, and they would go broadcast, you know, and at one point I got to be, I guess there's the play-by-play person, then there's the color analyst. Like there's a one guy or the girl, whoever, oh, the so-and-so play, they would be the main, they would carry the weight. Then the guy that I filled in for once, I go, yeah, so-and-so, man, that was a great hit. Back to you. And that's kind of, you know, so I did that once, and that was interesting. But that worked at a little tiny station, and then you start passing your demos around, which in radio called an air check, which are it's just samples of you on the air, just edited down. You know, like you send a demo for, you know, whatever, like in the music world. And you pass them around, and some people like you, some people don't, and you start moving around to different radio stations, and here I am.
Yeah. And then now you're on KIIS FM, which is crazy.
Now on KIIS, and it's been, and KIIS is, I mean, I just pinch myself every day because KIIS FM, I mean, not to brag because I'm on the station, but it was big before I got to it, and it'll be big whenever I leave it. If, you know, I've been here for 20 plus years now. I don't know. I always joke. I'm not sure if KIIS can't get rid of me or I can't get rid of them, but it's just,
fit, though.
Yeah, we really mesh together, and not that we haven't had some ups and downs over the years, but it's mainly ups. There's something about me and KIIS that fit together, and I love that. Yeah. But it's just a massive. If you had to pick two pop stations in the country as far as the main pop stations, and there's a lot of great ones in the iHeart chain and out of the iHeart chain, but KIIS in LA and Z100 New York are generally, you know, looked at as the two top, you know, pop stations in the country, certainly, if not the world. So I am proud to be a big part of one of them. And the countdown airs on Z100 New York, so I'm on that one too. So
but yeah, you are, I think why obviously you are where you are is because you're just so personable, and you're also hilarious. Like, I was, weirdly enough, funny story, I was looking for a tattoo artist for my first tattoo when I turned 18. And weirdly enough, I was like, let's check Instagram, because that's what you do as a teenager. For some reason, you go on Instagram to check for tattoo artists. I don't know. And the first story I came across was yours. And you were getting a tattoo during one of your interviews at KIIS FM.
Yep.
Like, I was like, what? And then I actually DM'd you. I was like, hey, do you refer me to this person? That's how I got my tattoo.
Oh, look, you got it from Mikey? You got it from Mikey?
I got it from Mikey.
Oh, he's such a good dude.
I was like, what is the craziest interview I've ever done? I don't even know if it has to be that one, but I was just like, what does he do? Like, that is crazy that he's just getting a tattoo during an interview. I think he lost a bet or something. Or
no, actually, there's one where there's a bet involved. Yeah, forgot about that.
There's more than one.
But the way it started, I just thought, I wanted to get a tattoo. I didn't have any tats, and I wanted to get a tattoo. So I thought, well, if I go to a tattoo parlor, which, you know, I've done since, there's a good chance that I'm going to talk myself out of it, or give me an excuse to get out of it. Like I got a reservation, an appointment at 3:00. Let's go. You know, traffic's gonna be bad. Let me just, I'll think of an excuse. Yeah. But on the radio, I'm a little braver on the radio than off.
Okay.
So we set it up for the radio, and I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. So I ended up getting this, see the Michael's feet right there. Mm-hmm. That's that. So I ended up getting, I got, it was back in the day. Remember LMFAO, the group LMFAO?
Yes.
Sky Blue from LMFAO came in, and he got a tattoo on the air with me.
Okay.
And so I called up, I was looking for a tattoo artist, and a buddy of mine at the radio station he's just covered. And he says, oh man, you always go to the guy that's covered with tats because he knows somebody. And he referred me to Mikey Montoya, who's where you got your tat. And I said, can he come to the radio station? So we start talking. He comes to the radio station. We pull the guest mic down, and then LMFAO, or Sky Blue from LMFAO, comes in. He gets his. Oh my God, time to do. I did mine. It was nuts. And actually, when Sky Blue, oddly enough, being a big Michael Jackson fan, his uncle is Berry Gordy, who signed the Jackson 5 to Motown, and Austin Brown, who is another young artist. He is Rebe Jackson's son, and Rebe is, of course, there's Rebe, Janet, LaToya.
Yeah.
She's one of the sisters. She's Michael's sister, basically. So to have Austin Brown, her son, come in, and we've become friends. He was there when I got this Michael tat. It's just everything kind of like Berry Gordy and Mike. I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. So it was a surreal moment. That's how I got the first tat. And then since then I've done a couple of tats on there. I did one with Jason Derulo in the studio. But the bet one you're talking about,
was that it was with a One Direction member, wasn't it?
Yep, it was Louis Tomlinson.
Yeah.
And Louis, long story, but somehow I agreed to let him pick my tattoo, and it went on my skin.
Yeah.
Before I even knew, like, it was on my skin before I knew what it was.
That I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was he ended up putting a poop emoji tattoo on me, and then he signed LT.
Huh?
Well, between you and I've had the poop part covered up.
I was like, did you cover it?
Because my wife hated it. She loves Louis. Like, we love Louis, but she hated the poop thing. I haven't said this even anywhere, so I hope his fans don't mad. But I did leave. He signed. He actually took, like, the poop emoji thing was done by Mikey Montoya. He put it on there, but the LT Louis Tomlinson, he took the tattoo ink, the tattoo pen himself, and signed LT on my skin, and that's still there. So if you can see the LT right there.
That is crazy.
So that's Louis.
This is like a normal thing that you do. You get tattoos on the air. That's so.
Yeah, that's the last one I did, and I want to do another one. I don't know when, or who knows, but I want to do another one. But I just don't know if I can do a COVID tattoo yet. Maybe I guess why not? You did yours before COVID or during, or if so, how?
I did it before COVID. I did it in October, so almost a year since I've gotten mine.
Gotcha. I want another one, but I guess I'm a little hesitant to get a tat during a pandemic. Maybe that's stupid to be afraid of that.
It might be a post-COVID situation.
Yeah, I'm going
activity. Yeah, but have you anything else that's like crazier on the air? Like, is tattoos the extent of it? Because that's
well,
that's
I'm
crazy. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is. There was, I've done some wild interviews. I mean, back in the day, this is probably not recommended, but back in the day, 3-6 Mafia came in. Okay. And the famous drink Scissorp, the 3-6 Mafia drink and the Scissorp, and they said, "Do you want some Scissorp?" And I didn't know what. I'm like, "Sure." So he brings in this bottle of Scissorp, and of course it's filled with codeine, and I'm like falling asleep during the interview. I won't do that again. That was like, what the heck? I've had. I'm obsessed with the paranormal. Another long story, but I love the paranormal. I have a podcast called Paranormalish. But I've done so many ghost investigations, quite a few on the radio, usually targeted around Halloween. Yeah. And that's been some interesting, some moments. But I think I've interviewed, as far as artists, I think, people always ask who I've interviewed. I think it's in the pop world. I think it's probably a shorter list who I haven't interviewed than who I have. It's just crazy. I mean, I haven't interviewed Jay-Z or Eminem, and Lil Wayne. But outside of that, I've covered the pop world pretty heavy,
Insane. Which leads me to my next question. Do you ever get starstruck? I know Michael Jackson was a huge one for you that you met.
Yeah.
Which was like, I know that's like one of your biggest idols, which it's Michael Jackson. Yeah. But do you ever, I mean, you've interviewed so many people. Like you said, it's a shorter list of people you haven't interviewed than you have. Do you ever get starstruck? Are you ever like intimidated or excited to meet a specific person?
I think the one time, Michael was pretty spectacular. And now that that's happened, if I ever get kind of, the butterflies and whatnot, which having butterflies is fine. You just kind of deal with it, But if I ever get the butterflies, I just think in my head, dude, I met Michael Jackson at Neverland Ranch. What are you going to do to me, Yeah. But a long time ago, I worked at a station in San Francisco called Wild. It was Wild 107 at the time, but Wild 94.9. This wasn't a starstruck moment because he wasn't. When I tell you the name, you're going to go, "Oh my God!" But he wasn't that "Oh my God" name at the time.
Okay.
He was just
before the big break and.
Yeah, but it was Notorious B.I.G. Biggie.
Yeah.
So so when I say that, Biggie now is, legendary status, but he was, just an artist climbing the charts. Yeah. And I wouldn't say starstruck, but I bring it up just because I realized that it was overwhelming at the time. I'm like, this, I didn't know. I mean, I was new to interviews, it wasn't my first, but he was, in my early career, and it was just like, he was so physically big and I'm so physically not big.
Yeah.
And he was very nice, and I still kick myself for not getting a pic with him.
Ah, yes.
He did they cut liners for art, like for on-air personalities, like, hey, it's Britney Spears and you're listening to JoJo on the radio. He did cut one of those. So there, I have that somewhere.
Okay.
And I have one recorded by Aaliyah as well, which I never met Aaliyah. But she came by the station. Sometimes you don't, when the artist comes by the station,
You never
you don't do the interview. Somebody else does it, but they'll record liners at time. Everything's a little different,
Interesting.
But I didn't do the interview with Aaliyah back in the day, but there's an Aaliyah drop somewhere. Hey, it's Aaliyah, and you're listening to my boo, JoJo on the radio. I'm like, oh my God, that's so wild to hear.
Yeah.
But those are some that come to mind. But if you're going to get starstruck, I mean, I kept it inside, and I didn't interview Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But to be on, it was, I was on stage in a, it looked like a circus tent, like a temporary tent on the grounds of Neverland. And I was hosting part of a fundraiser at Neverland. And then Michael Jackson comes. Do you want the story?
Yeah.
I
would love that.
It's first of all, it's going to sound like I'm making this up, but everything I'm about to say is 100% true. I'm on stage in this tent at Neverland. Huge Michael Jackson fan. I mean, I am just, it's before the tattoo, but I'm just lifelong. He's just my guy. So I'm inside the tent, and I'm thinking, I'm thinking, yes, this is Neverland, but Michael Jackson's he's not gonna come up here. He's just gonna wave from a distance, probably have the mask on, which he was way ahead of us with this COVID thing with the mask, I mean, but he's probably just gonna wave from a distance, and I have to be okay with that. I don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm standing on stage, and this guy comes up. He goes, "Hey, JoJo, can you page, Nick and Aaron Carter to the stage?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." Which is cool, but I've known Nick and Aaron for a little bit, so that wasn't, I wasn't best friends with them at the time, which I'm really close to them now, but I knew them. I knew Nick and Aaron. That was common to see them around KIIS FM. That wasn't shocking.
Okay.
Hey, JoJo, can you page Mike Tyson to come to the stage? I was like, all right, now it's getting weird. Mike Tyson, what? To be honest, I never saw Mike Tyson, but I was asked to page him. So he was there. Turns out the night of this event, there was an Oscar de la Hoya fight. So they turned the fight on in the theater at Neverland because Michael had a theater. So Mike Tyson was over there in the theater, to my understanding, watching the Oscar de la Hoya fight. So that's probably why I didn't see him, or maybe I just missed him. I don't know.
Yeah. And
then he came up to me and goes, "Look, Michael's going to come up. If he needs the mic, just, give him the mic, whatever, and just whatever he wants, but have fun. He's about to show up." And I said, "Wait, he's coming to this? Michael's coming right here?"
Hold on. Let me prepare myself.
Keeping it inside, I think. But I think I kept cool. But I mean, it's Michael Jackson. Yeah. So Michael comes up to the stage. Everybody in the tent's going crazy. It's just probably 500 people in the tent, maybe 300-400, whatever. But the tent was just, oh my God, Michael comes up. I said, "Michael, would you like the mic?" He goes, "No, I'm fine." So we had, it's a presentation. Some kids sang a song for Michael because it was his birthday in a couple of weeks. And then we had some of the KIIS crew bring a cake up. They brought this giant cake, and they set it right in front of the stage, and people are going crazy. And Michael Jackson reaches and grabs a little hunk of the cake and hands it to, I think, a little girl in the audience, or a little guy, just having some fun. And I think he may have said something in the middle of there, but I'll just skip to the crazy part. After he handed the cake to the little girl, I had the mic. I was kind of behind him. And I said, "Uh-oh, going to be a cake fight." Because I heard about cake fights happening in Neverland.
Yeah.
Michael turns to Nick and Aaron Carter, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they start talking back and forth. And one thing leads to another, and cake starts flying. Yeah. I'm like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And then Michael Jackson turns to me.
Crazy. And
he pauses because, he doesn't, like, he has cake in his hand ready to hit me, but he stops because he doesn't know me. And then I said, and I swear this is exactly, I said, "Hit me, Michael." he goes, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." Bam! And he smashed me with cake and craziness. And he gets taken off to the guest house, because he was covered in cake too. And I ended up taking a shower he gets taken to the main house. And I ended up taking a shower at a guest house at Neverland because I'm covered in cake. And it was just crazy. Yeah. I cannot believe that happened. but my wife was in the audience. She was crying because she knew that what it meant to me, you know.
Dream come true.
It was really surreal. And when I tell people this, especially people who aren't, like, if I talk to my family back in Texas, it's in my head as I'm saying it, I know they're thinking, this is not true. This did not happen.
Dream you had.
But it happened. It was so wild. And we didn't have any pictures because cameras weren't allowed.
Yeah.
But some fans.
I saw.
Well, no, I'll tell you how I got it though. Some fans had snuck video. They had, because iPhones weren't a thing back then, you know. But fans in the audience had snuck video to get the cake and just get Michael in general. And granted, they weren't trying to film me per se, but they were filming Michael.
Yeah.
And years later, they posted these videos. There's several now, and the pictures you've seen are screen grabs from those fans' YouTube videos.
Crazy.
So that's how I got the pics.
That's insane.
Isn't that nuts?
Well, that answers my question on whether it's been starstruck. I don't even know what.
So that's it. And I since then I've you know, and I've interviewed Janet before. I've interviewed Janet before Michael passed and after, but I did share that story with Janet probably a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And I said, I hope you don't mind, but I want to bring up one story and just, can you, you know, just because it's, you know, and she said, oh, that sounds like Mike. That sounds like Mike, you know, just having fun. So it was sort of surreal to me to tell Janet that moment. Yeah. It was kind of a full circle bit, you know. So there's that. So there you, I'm rambling, Tori, but there you go.
No, that's amazing. I love that story. That's, I mean, insane to even think about. I can't even.
Yeah, very, wow, you know.
I have a lot of questions that would go into specifically like what you do and your part in KIIS FM and kind of like the business aspect of it, as I am taking as a business class. So I am learning a lot about contracts and things like that. So I am curious on picking your brain on specifically those kinds of questions. So how much freedom, if you are allowed to say, do you have on like things you can specifically say on air? Is there like a contract that you signed on like you can't say this or like anything like that?
There are FCC guidelines, obviously, for anything to do with, you know, profanity and just, you know, topics that would break those guidelines. You know, so we signed contracts that say you can't say, you know, obviously I can't go on the radio and curse because if I were on, you know, satellite or just the online portion of it, you know, I could technically, but even if I'm on just the KIIS Instagram, I won't curse or do anything inappropriate because it affects the KIIS brand. But legally, I guess I could curse on the KIIS Instagram, you know. And I'm sure a word or two has probably slipped from some people on there, but on air, because we're governed by FCC guidelines as public radio, that I can't say certain things on there. But as far as like what I have to say on the radio, I mean, my boss at this point, me and my boss, we're pretty much married. We're like an old couple at this point because I've been there for so long and he's as well. But we have certain things I have to promote. Like, hey, there's the iHeartRadio Music Festival, and there's this. So there's certain things I have to promote. But as far as the content, he gives me a lot of freedom to do what I do. And then if I do something stupid, he'll yell at me, you know. But there's a lot of freedom in what I can say as far as creatively. I don't get to pick the music, if that was one of the questions coming up.
That is eventually, yeah. We'll get into that.
Yeah. And I can elaborate on that, but when you get to it. But yeah, I don't pick the music. But as far as creatively, what I can say and can't say, I have a lot of freedom in that world.
Yeah.
But you know, within, as far as I can't, you know, sometimes, you know, as far as KIIS FM, they hate when we have to be really careful when it comes to politics because it's just, I mean, we are very much like we support everything. We support the right things. We have to word it correctly because it's just such a negative. And I think from a programming standpoint, people come to us to not deal with that as much, but at the same time, we support Black Lives Matter and the movement, you know, so we'll stay away from the politics of it, but the movement itself, we're all about. So that's kind of the dance that, you know, I hope it's not really a dance. I get it. But our sister station, KFI, which is a news station, they're on the 4th floor. We're on the 5th. I mean, that's their thing. You know, they get, so we, you know, it's like voting. We are all about registering to vote, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. You know, that's probably a good way to put it. So
That makes sense.
Although,
It makes sense on
although,
sticking to what you're supposed to be talking about and stay clear of
yeah,
like controversial topics and things like that. That totally makes
yeah,
sense.
for the most part. Now, granted, sometimes you have to jump into some controversy. Like, uh, I did some interviews with Chris Brown back in the day, right after the Rihanna incident. Not to bring that up, but that was I bring it up for the sake of it was a touchy moment, and I wanted to, help him. He wanted to move past it and admit his wrongs.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I wanted to do that for him. But at the same time, I didn't want to be insensitive to, goodness gracious. I mean, that's going into all that. So
Mm-hmm.
it was such a sensitive thing where I wanted to have him. He wanted to basically not confess, but to get it out and say he's sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then but I didn't want to be like, hey, all right, it's fun time. And not if I'm loosey goosey bubbly at that point.
Yeah.
I look insensitive to something that I've got a daughter. I can't be like douchebag in that sense too. So, but I think he handled it good during that interview, and I think I did as well. And but we've had some sensitive ones as well, but that would be one of those probably controversial or super sensitive moments. But that I think we all handled that one pretty well. And actually, I pre-recorded that one. I chopped it up so it make sure I really fine-tooth combed that one.
Cool. No,
So that's that. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll shut up now, Tori. Go ahead. Give me shoot.
A lot of great information. Even as me as an artist, I feel like I have that pressure as well. Even if I'm not as big as I am hoping to be in the near future, but also making sure that I'm putting a good opinion out there is, stay in my lane.
Yeah, I think I think it's good to stand for something. I really do. But I also think that you have to pick and choose your battles as well. And like I think this is a real this last couple of months has been a real eye-opening time. The Black Lives Matter movement is something that I think a lot of here I have light skin. I don't or didn't know all the issues, and I still don't know all the issues, but to know what somebody who has black skin or dark skin is going through things that I will never like. And when somebody told me they what's the phrase? White privilege.
Yeah.
When I first heard that, I thought, man, and I was talking. Who was I talking to about this? Oh God, I forget which artist I was talking to, but maybe it was Neo.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't. I mean, white privilege. When I first heard that phrase, I thought, man, do people just think that I am just filthy rich and silver spoon in my mouth? But that's not what that meant. That means
there's a whole nother underlying meaning.
Yeah, I have obstacles in my life, but none of those obstacles have to do with my skin color. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so well said, and it hits home. And count me in on the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm an ally, and yeah, there we are. And I think in the station, I can't speak for the station, but the station that's our stance on that as well. I mean, right is right, and there you go. So anyway,
that totally makes sense on like the freedom of what you can talk about in the interview. You still have to be true to yourself and also true to the radio station, how they believe as well. But I know an artist team can be very particular on what you can and cannot talk about in the interview. So have you ever had an interview where like you've got a long list of like, don't bring this up, or is it common points on like, okay, do talk about this? I'm sure that's more common than a not list, but
I've had artists that well, for example, I've had this is I'm not going to say the artist name, and they were super sweet. Mm-hmm. For example, the Black Lives Matter movement, I had an artist that posted a ton about pro Black Lives Matter movement, but the management hit us up and said, don't bring that up.
Okay.
So, and so I guess they were just trying to keep music and, I guess keep things separate, which I can see if somebody didn't post anything about it, but they posted a fair amount.
Yeah.
But so there's that, I've had the, don't bring up girlfriend, boyfriend, certainly back in the boy band days. So don't bring up girlfriend, like I recall, God, this is way back in the day. NSYNC.
Yes.
And Lance was dating Danielle Fishel.
Okay.
From Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
And they said, don't bring up the girlfriend. I'm like, okay, cool. And and just it's just looking back, I'm sure I bumped into Lance so many times. He's such a great dude. And now it seems so dumb, that we were worried about that. But even I did it. Like before I announced that I was married on the radio, which my boss told me, he goes, dude, nobody gives a crap if you're married. You're not some sex symbol. I'm like, shut up, John. I never announced I was married on KISS until we were about to have a kid. Then I ended up announcing that I was married. Me and my wife were about to have a kid
Yeah.
with Usher. And Usher, I was doing this interview with Usher, and his album was Confessions. I thought, well, this is kind of a cool little segue. And that's one time I was nervous. I don't get nervous a lot.
Yeah.
That I recall, he goes, dude, you look like, I'm like, oh my God, Usher, this is great. So I announced that I was married.
You.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, but anyway, some artists give you that, some are more particular than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some I understand why they're particular,
Yeah.
Some I don't get it. Some of I've interviewed a lot of the K-pop bands, and I love all the K-pop bands. Sometimes they want questions in advance because there's a language barrier, so they want them in order, so they know what, So I get that, and it helps me as well sometimes. Although we'll branch and veer from it and whatnot, but you're dealing with English is not their first language, and my Korean is not good. So our interviews go great, and I think the fact that there's a language barrier makes it even more interesting. So you see two people that don't speak the same language, we get it, we figure it out. It's really neat.
I didn't even think
it answers your question.
I didn't even think of that side of it as on getting the questions beforehand on if they they need to prepare, or if you have a language barrier. That totally makes sense. So
yeah, it's interesting.
I didn't even think of that. But being the personality, I was curious on how much, which you kind of dabbled in a little bit earlier, how much of a job do you have behind the scenes other than coming up with your own interview questions? How much do you have on the behind the scenes of KIIS FM or the radio station or everything?
What do I do aside from being on the radio, so to speak?
Yeah, and answering, coming up with your own questions. Like, do you have any jobs behind the scenes that you don't usually?
Gotcha. There were I'll run through my jobs real quick. Let me see if I can answer. Of course, I'm on the radio at KIIS.
Mm-hmm.
Before I go on the radio, I'll prep the radio show in a sense where little things, little ticky tack things, such as we have the text to win song. Where I insert all the contests. For right now, we're doing a thing where KIIS FM wants to help you pay your bills. Listen for the text to win. So we'll go through, make sure all the texts are right. All that fun stuff. I don't pick the music. We'll elaborate on that later on. But I'll get all the make sure the whole show runs right. And right now there's no producer in the studio with me because I'm just by myself. Which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the air. I do a lot of endorsements. If it's a client or a product that fits me and they want me, then we meet, we mesh up, and they will. Hey, we'd like to talk to JoJo about endorsing XYZ. Okay. All right, JoJo, what do you think about this? Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Well, I've never tried that. Let me try that. Oh, that's nice. Or I'm not sure if I'm feeling this and that, and they'll give it to somebody else. And that goes on all the time with all the personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll get into the radio station, and sometimes it's a spot that I'll read and just put my own spin on. Hey, they'll have a whole thing written out. Hey, it's JoJo, blah blah blah, and I'll read it. Sometimes it's just hey, get these 2 lines in and say whatever you want. I'm like, okay. So I'll read all those. Read all those endorsements. The iHeartRadio countdown. Once I get the questions out, I'll interview the artist. Mm-hmm. Then I'll take the audio. Now I could have Premiere Networks do this part. Like, I think before I took over the countdown, they would edit the countdown themselves, as far as the audio, the interview. But I don't know. I'm very hands-on, and I'll do the interview with Ryan or Miley. We're talking Miley. I'll chop it up like I want it. Maybe I'll change a few things around in post, and then I'll send it to Premiere, and then they'll put all the iHeartRadio countdown, and they put all together. Then they send it to all the stations. So as far as the interview, the audio, me and the artist, I'll chop that up myself. Now they may have to shorten something up.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I'll do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing, podcast, I'm not forced to do a podcast, but I love this podcast called Paranormal. So I'll chop and edit all those. I'll book all those guests because I'm tied into all the paranormals, and the people that have experiences seem to come out to me, because they know I love it, and they know I'll listen to them. And so I have a lot of those. So I'll chop those up.
I need to contact you on that too, because I have a connection to the Omen House. You know what that is?
I've been there. David Omen.
Yes.
That guy is crazy.
I love him.
He
Yeah.
is a piece of work. That dude, he just sent me a DM just yesterday.
Yes, me too, actually. He's hosting some event, I think, and wants to interview people that are into the paranormal world, I guess. So
we were at the Omen House at one time, and because he has the Omen House, if you guys don't know, is a house in
so
is it
cool.
the Hollywood Hills, or it's like up in the Hollywood Hills, right?
I think
Or
so.
Beverly Hills, or
Yeah.
wherever it's at, somewhere big house,
No,
and
where
he has his
the Manson murders occurred. Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
that's the big sell, because his house, like
It's
2 doors down,
right next to where it happened. Yeah.
it's a wild location.
Crazy.
So he has his house, blanketed with cameras. And we're walking through, me and a buddy of mine, another ghost investigator guy. We walked through, and this thing flew off the shelf. And we're like, what the heck? Did we just see that? So he goes up and he pulls his camera, or he pulls the footage, and we're looking at it, and you see the ding, ding. It was just.
I've done a vlog there. It was insane. It was insane.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I remember going up in the hill, and obviously you don't really need to have service to record on your phone. And I totally believe in this stuff. That's why I think it's so funny that, weirdly enough, we connect on like weird levels, I guess. But I was literally recording in my car before we went inside, and my camera completely shut off. Like, it turned off my phone. And I did turn my phone all the way back on, and I was like, well, I guess that's them saying, hi, what's up? I'm Tori Kay, nice to meet you. But my mom and I always joke about that. And so many other things happen, but that was like the first initial thing where I was like, oh, yep, this is real. All right, feeling it.
Yeah, some people would argue that, hey, batteries turn off, phones turn off, which they do. But that happens more times than you'd think, because I recall doing a broadcast at the Hollywood Tower, not the Hollywood Tower of Terror at Disneyland, but the Hollywood Tower Apartments, which that ride was loosely based on. We go in there, everything's set, everything's tested, everything's set. We're about to do a full radio show there. And all of a sudden, before we go on, like 5 minutes, everything goes off. And the batteries just sucked out.
That's what's crazy. He kept telling me to download, on like iCloud, all of my footage, because there's actually someone that's gone home from like getting all this footage, and all their footage was deleted. That's crazy.
It's crazy. We've had that happen at several places, not just the Hollywood thing, but another place. It was an old tuberculosis asylum in Fresno, I think it was. We had to. It was, once again, everything shut. It was chaos. We couldn't. Everything kept burning out on us. So that happens. That's fairly common, just so you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we need to connect on that for sure.
That would be so dope, yes. But I kind of want to talk about like where you handle the music. So do you handle any of the music that's put on the radio stations? Do you see any of the songs that are sent in? Anything like that?
When I walk into the studio, there's I log on to what's called our next gen system.
Okay.
And basically there's the songs, boom, 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 right there. And there's certain sweepers go in front of certain songs, and I'll adjust kind of where I talk at from time to time. And our spot sets go to a certain place, and that it's always fluctuating and whatnot. But as far as the songs themselves, I don't. We have a programming department that does all that, and labels are, they're always trying to get their songs on the radio and this and that, whatever. And I just, every now and then I'll go, my God, have you guys heard XYZ song? And I'll walk into programming and go, this song is, oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And they'll go, oh yeah, we'll check it out, or they'll ignore me or whatever they'll do. But so I've done that before. The most recent one I've done, and any song I'm going to bring up to them, they're probably always aware of it, because they are just our programming department, and they're neck deep in everything.
Yeah.
But the last one I went to them on to say, hey guys, I said, hey, how's this song looking? Because I'm in love with this song. Is a song by Max, or Jonas Blue and Max, called Naked. Okay. I just am in love with this song. I love this song, and I hope it does well. I don't know where it stands at right now. Hopefully it looks good. I just recorded a countdown with Max, so I know we're going to play it on the countdown. But that's the most recent one I've done. But that's my extent. I'll go into them and say, dude, this song, her name's Beata, and John's the big boss. But I usually go to Beata.
I think I've met her. Yes.
You probably have. Yeah.
They're performing at iHeart. I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You did. Yeah. She is. I said, Beata, what do you think about this? And she goes, I love them. She loves Jonas and Max. We're just going to see kind of where it goes, and stuff like that. So that's. I just. Yeah.
Okay.
And I recall uh, yep. I said some stuff about BTS at one point. Like I went
Yeah.
to my boss, my big boss, John. I said, John, I'm about to do this interview with him. I need to play this song. I can't just do the interview without playing the song. I said, your call, of course. He's the boss, you know.
Mhm.
But I said, he said, green light it, you know. So
Mhm.
I knew BTS is going to be massive. I mean, that's a no brainer, but they're just so massive. And this is one of my first interviews with him. And so I did say some stuff about BTS and several throughout the years, but that's basically my involvement in how music is picked, which in other words, I'm not involved in that process really, you know.
And you do have young daughters, so I was curious because I'm sure they're always on top of, the new artists and
Oh yeah.
music with TikTok and everything like that. Have your daughters ever come up and been like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, listen to this song," and then you were like, "Oh, that's really good," and brought them into the studio to like interview?
Yep. She's really into a lot of social influencers, and she knows who you are. Um, uh,
Oh,
but she's I think she'll say, "Hey, can you get so and so in?" And then we have an influencer segment. You know, Dad, can you get so and so in? Like, oh, let me look into it. And we brought in several. She's freaked out over a handful of them.
yeah.
Another one that we haven't got in yet that she really wants to meet is Charlie D'Amelio.
Oh
She
yeah.
loves Charlie, you know.
Yeah.
But I forget. I'm going to space on some of the names, but and who she told me. But she'll come to me with certain artists or certain songs, and they're generally she's 12, and they're generally social influencers. That's her. That's where she has her fun, you know. Or she just got or TikTok songs like
This is a whole nother world, so that's why I was curious on like bringing forth that new perspective.
Yep, songs that have blown up on TikTok like Super Lonely, you know.
Yes, I love that song. Yes.
She was on Super Lonely way before I knew it, you know. So she's like, oh my God, that's a TikTok track. And you know, what's the song? Oh my God, there's so many. I can't, I don't know where to start it.
So
But
many songs that have that's what's crazy
yeah,
about the new social media world with TikTok. But yeah.
TikTok has really launched so many
I mean,
songs and artists. It's
it's
crazy.
insane. You just gotta try your hardest to get your song to blow up on there because you have no idea where it could take you.
You really don't. It is just fascinating. It really is.
Okay, so I also during
I'm
the
ready, Tori. Get hit.
also been very difficult for upcoming artists to get exposure because obviously there's no live performances, there's no tours. It's really difficult. So what advice would you have? Any advice you could give for young artists or upcoming artists to get their music to any radio station, not even KIIS FM? What are some ways they could try to get their music onto
I
those?
think the main thing, even with or without COVID,
Mm-hmm.
is just not to try to blow you up here and make you feel all good, but not that I don't want to do that. Exactly what you're doing.
And if you
You,
want to.
I mean, your social presence really. I mean, labels will look at that and go, "God, she has how many followers?" And she has, you know, and just you walk in. It's more powerful to walk in with the fan base
Yeah.
than without a fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, it was more so there was no social networking.
Yeah.
But if you're touring and and people are coming to your shows, and that's why back in the day, artists would, A&R would go to a show and go, "Oh my God, look at this! This is crazy!" And they still do that. Well, not now, but because there's no shows. But
So
they'd go look. Yeah, they'd go look at, they'd go to the shows. Like, oh my God, this band is crazy. They're following, and granted, their followings usually started in a certain area,
yeah.
and they had a region, and then it spread from there. The version of that now is, man, look at the following, look at the interaction that he or she has. This may be something special. The danger that labels get into right now is, or just, well, I guess music managers, labels, whatnot, is when you have an artist that is huge on social, because they go at it from the opposite direction more times than not. Massive on social, put a song in it, but you just don't have it live, or you're just not really an artist. You're more so just a social influencer. So Shawn Mendes is a great example. He came to us from social, in the beginning, I think it was Vine, I believe, or, whatever. Right?
Yeah, I think it was Vine. Yes.
But he's a real artist that, was discovered on social. Bieber, same argument, I guess, YouTube.
Yeah.
But some are just, you got to find the ones that are real artists that started on social versus the ones that are just, it's just, they're there for the show and for the hits and whatnot. And that's a great career, but are they artists and musicians? So it's a kind of you can't judge it only just because of, your following, but they do certainly look at that for sure. So I guess the main thing is work on your craft,
Yeah.
become good at your live and, your writing and whatever your thing is, but still you got to build the following up because that can really get your foot in the door.
For sure. For sure. I appreciate
Is that a good answer? Is that, I hope that makes,
That's a great answer. I feel like a lot of artists need to hear that, even me, because sometimes I'm like, okay, am I spending too much time on social media? Am I spending too much time working on this when it's not even on social media yet? It's you got to create that balance. So I appreciate you kind of just.
It's got to be seen. And I've seen your show. I've only seen you in like smaller settings, like we did that show at Roxy, I believe it was, and you did a thing for
Foundation, yes.
Yep, and we did a thing for you were at the radio station for the social network,
Yes. For
Live
Live Me.
spacing. Yeah, for Live Me. Yeah, duh. And so I'd like to see you in a big setting at some point. But you're doing the right things, You're just going at it, song, your social following. But you put a lot of time on your stage performance as well. I can tell you really, your choreography is on point, and that's your thing. Like that's your world. That choreographed, really powerful. You got your beats on stage. You're like, boom, here's a moment here. Bam, you get back. You're not just. I can't imagine Tori Kay walking on stage going, "Yeah, I'm just going to sing a little bit and walk around." And
Never. I don't
go in.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is my last question. I love talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. But I actually have one more question, which is, where do you think the music industry is going to be after COVID?
Well, I guess the real answer is nobody knows. That's the honest answer, But what do I think?
Maybe an idea of where it could possibly go?
I was just talking to Ryan Tedder a few moments ago, and I asked him a similar question. I said, I know you're about to jump on the road. Well, everybody's anxious to jump on the road, but where do you realistically see this going? Mm-hmm. Because I think that's the main thing. Whenever the floodgates open as far as tours, mm-hmm. there's going to be 1,000 tours because everybody wants to go back on the road. Even Niall Horan told me, he goes, dude, if I can find a venue to perform in when all these artists hit the road, I'll be hitting the road too. But I think the main thing is the live, everything else with social network and everything like that, that's almost the same because it's almost been a blessing. Imagine if this would have happened, 20 years ago. Yeah, we'd be just like on a flip phone trying to text, like you do with that. But I think the social, with social networks and, and all the internet, basically, we've been able to communicate and, and enjoy music and enjoy performances with that. So that part of it's kind of the same. We still communicate with social network, and that's a big part of it. And it'll always be a big part of it in some fashion. But the live shows are the big one. Like, how does that get back rolling? Because there's a lot of, forget people love it and they emotionally connect with an artist and they connect with fans. But, how can we do it safe? How can we even have any of that? Because it's just, if you, like Ryan Tedder was telling me, you can't underwrite a tour now because you can't guarantee the artist and the staff's safety because there's no vaccine. He thinks when there's a vaccine, then things will get back to somewhat normal. He didn't think it's going to happen until late 2021. I do think, I'm kind of with them, mid to late 2021.
Concerts like that, I think so, yeah.
So I think the way I'll answer your question is the main unknown is the live shows. Yeah. But once things, and even, let's say if you were going to do the social distance thing, let's say we do a social distance concert where everybody stands 6 feet apart, which won't work because everybody's going to get together and it'll be, like the schools in Georgia. We're going to go to school and no mask. It'll be great. No, you're not. They're already shut down. Well, this one school is. But even if everybody would stay 6 feet apart with a mask and whatnot, is it financially, worth it to get this arena that you can only fill 1/3?
Yeah.
So that's an issue. Then meet and greets, which artists make, that's part of their money on meet and greets and fan packages.
Interesting.
How do you do that? Do you put a piece of plexiglass in front of you, which would take away
a meet and greet? I mean,
I know. Let me ask you that.
Yeah.
could you do a meet and greet with a big thing of glass there? Because I'm sure you're very huggy and want to
I
meet your
am.
fans and
That's
they
what I
love
was
you.
saying. I don't even know if I would be able to. Obviously, I'm very grateful for the fact that I started live streaming 3 years ago on different kinds of apps like
Right.
Up Live, which is how I got the connection to iHeart for that one show that I did. And yeah, no, I'm really grateful because obviously I've been doing a lot of live streaming during pandemic because I miss that personal interaction as an artist. Someone screaming at you or like singing your lyrics or even just dancing, even if they don't know your song, just dancing like at the any show that you do. So I miss that interaction. I also miss going to the studio, but we're also finding other, I think, outlets that are
Right.
kind of working. And I am thankful. I do agree with you. I am very thankful that social media is a thing because I don't even know what I would have done as an artist or even as
100%.
a person back then with all this happening. But no, I think also another interesting thing my mom and I actually brought up the other day was social media is so big that I wonder after COVID people are going to get so used to not seeing each other if there's even going to be a push for that. If it's just going to be like, is meet and greets even going to be a thing because people are like, oh, I mean, I went so long not meeting you, what's the point, like
I don't know.
I've thought about that too because I'm like, that could be interesting where we're literally our whole world is going to go virtual.
I guess well, you know what? I suppose there's a chance of it, but there's also a chance of, what's the phrase? When you miss something, the heart grows fonder, whatever it is. If you've missed something for so long, when it's like, okay, it's safe now, boom, it could be a rush, the exact opposite of that. Like, oh my God. And it just, everybody wants to go to a show. I mean, I think right now, for example, I love going out to restaurants and eating at restaurants. Yeah. When they open these things up, when it's safe, when there's a vaccine, when I feel like it's, we get everything's under control, like in 2029, God, but I want to go back and do things that safely. If I really feel like, all right, we got this, we're good, COVID's done, yay. When it hits that point, I want to go out. I want to see a show. I think it's almost a spiritual experience to be to see a performance when, if it's an artist you like or just a moment happens or, I've had it's hard to recreate that online from the fans point and from the artist point because you feed off that energy. It's like, oh my God, it's just, there's just no, it's just, And like in baseball now, I'm a big Dodger fan, but you notice they pump in the crowd sounds.
Yeah.
If it were just no crowd sounds, it would be just weird. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But I think it's going to get back to normal at some point. But I'm hoping mid to late 2021. It all revolves around the vaccine, in my opinion.
Yeah. Very much so. But, for now, just work on social media, work on, your craft so that when all this stuff opens up again, you're ready for it. So.
Yeah, I think one of the blessings in this chaotic time is it forced, and I've asked a lot of artists this, what did you learn about, what has 2020 taught you?
Oh,
and it took
so much.
to breathe and focus on things that, like Tedder. I keep bringing up Tedder and Miley because I just talked to him. Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It's so nuts, right? Yeah. So that's a weird thing I normally do interviews at the station in person, but to do interviews on my laptop, and there's Miley Cyrus in my house, even though I've talked to her a bunch of times, but she's never been in my house. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, Miley, welcome. Yeah. Or Katy Perry the other day. I was like, Katy Perry's on, and my daughter Sophie walks up, I'm like, hey, Katy. And she's like, oh, hey, Sophie. I was like, what's going on here? But I think the fact that we've been forced to slow down, and Tedder was telling me he's been forced to write, because that's all he does. It's time to write and, maybe think of things you haven't thought of before. Basically, in a nutshell, you have time now that you didn't have.
Very much so.
And maybe we really all along had the time. We just never took it. There's like the way he said it, like there's a dinner meeting that you think you needed to take, but you can't, you have to go to the dinner meetings then. And well, I think maybe one thing we've learned is we need to take more time for ourselves and what's really important. And the creative process, take time for that as well. Yeah. And maybe that's one of the things we've learned. But all that being said, I can't wait to do something that resembles normalish at some point, because
all of us are, yes.
Oh.
But, yeah.
And back to when I met your mom at the Morton Steakhouse.
Funny,
I want to have, that's so crazy, right? I want to have my tea at the Morton's bar.
Yeah.
I want to sit there and have my tea and make my notes. And it's so lame, but I love just going up there and just chilling, making my notes while they bring up tea, and we chat with the bartenders about it.
I would have to say, when my mom told me that, I was like, I'm so inspired by that. The fact that you actually take the time to sit down, research, write your own questions, and prepare. Because me, I mean, obviously I've dabbled a little bit on this side of the interview, on hosting red carpets, you know, little events here and there. And you do really inspire me. So I'm very, very thankful that you took the time to sit down and chat with me. Because it is something I'm very, you know, I am a musician, but I'm also very, very interested on this side of the entertainment industry. So yes, thank you so much for.
My pleasure. And you're awesome at this. Clearly, you're a natural at this. So, you know, just do your thing. Do your thing, Tori Kay. Do it. Well, if any other questions, Tori?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Well, we'll get a tattoo together someday.
Yes, we will, with Mike.
Radio. And Mike and Montoya will do it up. Hey, Tori, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. At the end of every interview, fist bump to make it official.
Oh, over Zoom. That's so sad. All right.
There we go. All right. Bye, Tori.
Bye. Have a good day.